I'm from Boston. Yeah, I'm from this really racist part of Boston called Boston. And I'm an Orthodox Jew. Yeah. I've never had bacon. I'm that kind of Jew. I've never tried bacon. I've tried cocaine, but I've never tried bacon. That's the life I've had. My real name isn't Alex Edelman. My real name, get ready, is David Yosef Shimon ben Elazar Ruvain Halevi, Alex Edelman. I go by Alex, because it's all I can remember. And I get a lot of crap for not going by my real name. My family gives me a lot of shit for it. They're like, why don't you go by your real name? Huh? You're not proud of your real name? And I'm like, no. My dad's name is Elazar. They'll be like, why don't you go by your real name? And I'm like, I don't know Elazar because it sounds like we're all in Slytherin. That's why. I have cousins, Menachem and Yitzchak. You can't even spell their names in English because there's no English letter for phlegm. I have a twin brother as well. I have a twin brother, AJ. My twin brother is a professional bodybuilder. My twin brother is a professional bodybuilder. And people are like, are you guys identical twins? And I'm like, we used to be. Now we look like a before and after photo. He lives in New York with 2 cats and no neck. I live in New York. I moved there to go to college. I went to New York University. And I didn't know this until I got there on the first day. NYU has no campus. There is no campus. And this is how I found out. I just dropped my stuff off at the dorm on the first day, and I said, where's the campus? And the RA was like, what? And I said, where's the quad? And this is what he did. I'll never forget this. He went, Alex, the city is your campus. And I said to him, I was like, I don't know if you know this man, but I did a Google, and last year there were 188 murders on campus. My first job in New York, I worked at KFC. I worked at KFC for 3 weeks, which is the longest anyone has ever worked at a KFC. I have a pension. And what you're supposed to do when someone walks into a KFC is say, can I help you? The KFC that I worked at was in Penn Station in New York, and I worked the 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. At 1 o'clock in the morning, in a fast food restaurant in Penn Station, can I help you is not good customer service. It's a promise you can't keep. I never minded sad people, by the way. You should be sad. It's a KFC. You should be devastated that you're in there. The people I minded were like happy white hipsters who would come in like it was a real restaurant. And they'd say things like, what's your healthy option? And I'd be like, leaving. That's our healthy option. You should be the same as the employees who work there when you go into a fast food restaurant. You're unhappy, we're unhappy. You're gross, we're gross. You're not wearing gloves, we're not wearing gloves. This woman came in once, and she was at least 300 pounds, and she had the meanest expression I've ever seen. And I said, can I help you? And she went, I don't know, can you? And I didn't know what to say to that. I just went, we have a chicken. What would you like? And she went, I don't know. And I said, well, what are you feeling? Which is also the wrong question. Because she goes, well, I'm tired. And I'm homesick, and I miss my family. What do you think I should get, you little asshole? And because I was like 18, and I had no training, and I had no other options, and I really wanted to help, I was like, if you miss your family, we have a family bucket you could get. All right, thanks so much, guys. This has been so cool. I'm Alex.
That was fantastic. That was amazing.
Thank you so much.
That was fantastic. Alex, Edelman, that was great. Congratulations.
I'm going to talk about two of my heroes I'm going to get out of here. Has anyone heard of Coco the gorilla? Yeah, well, a bunch of you guys. Coco the gorilla, for those of you that don't know, is a gorilla that speaks fluent sign language. And in 1999, this is true, Coco met Robin Williams. And last year, they told Coco that Robin Williams had passed away, and Coco went, Coco friend, Coco sad. Yeah, which is sad. But on the plus side, how funny was Robin Williams that even gorillas were like, this guy is unbelievable. My comedy barely works if you're not a Jew from New York City. Robin Williams crossed the species barrier. That's the best comedian. Second of all, and obviously, did they have to tell the gorilla that Robin Williams had passed away? She wasn't gonna catch it on CNN or anything like that. Someone walked into a gorilla enclosure. In like early 2018, they're like, hi, Coco? Can you put down the banana? We have bad news. And they tell Coco, and Coco's like, oh no. But Prince is fine, right? Get the gun. Coco, calm down. And Coco's like, why was the last David Bowie album so sad? And they're like, Coco! And Coco's like, what else do you know? And they're like, no. And Coco's like, and they're like, no. And Coco's like, who's the president now? And they're like, should we tell her he's a relative? Coco, calm down. My other hero growing up was Neil Armstrong, and not just because he won all those bicycle races, because he was the first guy to walk on the moon. That was America's best moment. I love it. It was America's 50 years ago this year. That was America's best moment. We beat Russia to the moon in the middle of a Cold War. And Russian spaceships are really expensive, really well designed. Because the way you build a Russian spaceship is different. The way you build a Russian spaceship, you have one large container, and then you take the top off, and there's a smaller container inside of it. And then you take the top of that, there's a smaller container inside of it. And then you take the top of that, and there's a smaller container inside. I will do this until everybody is laughing. And then you take the top of that, and in the middle, babushka. And America sent 3 men into space. They sent Buzz Aldrin, they sent Neil Armstrong, and no one ever knows the third guy. No one ever. His name's Michael Collins. No one ever knows the third guy. And that's horrible, because Neil Armstrong might be like one of the most famous men of the 20th century. Michael Collins, third guy on that mission, he isn't even the most famous Michael Collins. There's a movie called Michael Collins starring Liam Neeson. It's about a different guy. And America sent these 3 guys into space, taking 4 days to get there. I don't know times when they got there, but I know it was nighttime. Because the moon was out. And then exactly 35 years later, I met Neil Armstrong in an elevator in New York. I walked in, this is totally true, and he was right there, and I was like, Mr. Armstrong? He's like, yeah. I said, can I have your autograph? And he said, I don't do that. And I said, Mr. Armstrong, could I have a picture with you? And he said, I don't do that. I said, Mr. Armstrong, could I shake your hand? And I'll never forget this. He just looked at me. He went, kid, go away. You've only known me for a couple of minutes, but if you need to know one thing about me, it's this. If I'm not having a good time, no one's having a good time. And because I was 15 and I only knew from sarcasm, I looked at Neil Armstrong and I said, this is the worst Make-A-Wish I could have possibly asked for. And then, thinking this would genuinely sting, I went, my favorite should have been Michael Collins. And Neil Armstrong took a step away from me, and it was a small step for Neil Armstrong. You guys have been really wonderful. Thank you so much.